Okay, morning folks. Welcome to the Global Power Platform Bootcamp UK edition. Firstly, apologies for running this on a working day. I know everybody also has work to go to, and hopefully you've maybe got us on in the background as well as getting some work done. The Global Power Platform Bootcamp is the February 18th and 19th, and unfortunately, I happen to be moving house this weekend. So Friday it is. So all of these sessions will be available on YouTube, but just look at who's managed to show up despite the fact that we're recording this on a Friday. Look at the faces that we've got here and the presenters. So thank you so much to everybody for taking part and really jumping in and helping the community out to put on the only UK Global Power Platform Bootcamp event. So without further ado, let's just move on and I'll introduce you to me. So I'm your host today. So in case we haven't met, that's a crying shame and we should get on and do that. So reach out to me on all of these social things. So I'm Sharon Sumner. So I'm one of the leads of the Cambridge Power Platform user group, and one of our first speakers is also one of the new leads of the Cambridge Power Platform group as well. I'll introduce you to him in a moment. So I'll be around all day. So in the background of all of these sessions, I'll be here, I'll answer questions, I'll interrupt the speakers because that's what I do. So that we make sure that everybody is getting their voice heard through the chat, and make sure that the presenters are getting some good feedback as and when it happens if they're busy presenting and not necessarily looking at the screen. So I'll be your moderator. If we can keep the questions in chat, that really helps. And throughout the day, as I say, please let's have some chat going on that chat channel, and keep the thing light and airy and moving along. So obviously today what we're going to do is we're going to be recording all of the speakers so that we can put that live on YouTube. There will be events going on around the world, so expect to see lots of YouTube videos coming out over the coming few days, and we'll be prepping those up next week or in the next week or two. We've got quite a lot of speakers to get through. Housekeeping, please be respectful in your comments or in your questions. If we permit you to come off mic, please be respectful to the speakers that have given up their time for the day. And that's all I'm going to say on that, because I think it's a given. We're a community and we work together. These guys have spent their time to come and pass on their knowledge and help show you some cool stuff that they've done in these apps. So it's really important that we respect the speakers and also the guests. So thank you everybody for coming along. Here's our agenda for the day. So what are we looking at? First up, the amazing Sancho Harker, who we can all see up there, hopefully, at the top of the screen. He's ready to go first. Sancho is Microsoft MVP, as are most of the speakers today, and will be sharing with us some of the stuff he's been doing on the amazing theming tools in Power Apps. Really worth seeing this session. I think this is probably the first session since version 3, so we're super lucky to have Sancho kicking off the day. We've got a session with Shane Young. This is a pre-recorded slot that he's done for us that we'll play for you at 10:30. We're going to move on to Serge and Isabel. Governance, really important topic. Sorry, let's skip forward. We've got Thomas, we've got Nick coming along from Microsoft to share with us some Power Apps portals session. We've then got Daniel, Marcin, Elizabeth. I mean, the names just go on. We've got loads and loads of people throughout the day. So it's going to be a really packed day. As you can see, we've got very few breaks, but again, don't worry. If there's a session that you want to see, we'll have that recorded and we'll notify you once we've put all those up on YouTube. So keep a lookout on the CAMS PPUG channel on my YouTube. So thank you. All of the sessions will be on YouTube. So let's get started. Thank you so much for taking the time to show us all of that. It's great work that you're doing under the hood there, and it really makes it easier for everybody to have a consistent look and feel or a consistent theme without the headache and the overhead every time. So it's fantastic work. And thank you for sharing that with us today. Yeah, if you could post those links in the chat, that would be great. And I think next up, we need to catch up a little bit of time. So I'm going to just pop up a slide here about Shane. If you don't know about Shane Young, why? Shane has been teaching SharePoint and Power Platform since day one. And SharePoint, I think he's written a vast number of books. And I asked Shane to take part in today's event, but unfortunately it's ridiculous o'clock back where he is in the US. So Shane sent us a lovely recorded 15-minute session. So we won't be able to answer questions, unfortunately, but I will post anything to him if you've got any follow-ups. And I asked Shane to do us a piece on really the beginning, because while a lot of us have seen and we've got this really fantastic advanced stuff like Sancho's just shown us, really that how to get started on the journey, there's always people at the beginning of the journey. And as a user group, we find we get a real mix of beginners all the way through to complete experts and MVPs in the sessions. So I thought it'd be nice to have somebody as experienced as Shane to talk to us about getting started on the journey and how you become a pro. So hopefully, there you go. I'll just shut up. Let him talk.
Hello everyone, welcome to starting your Power Platform journey, or more plainly put, how do you keep learning, right? So in case we haven't met before, my name is Shane Young. I have been a Microsoft MVP for like 16 years, which just means I talk a lot, right? But I work for a company called Power Apps 911. We do Power Platform consulting, mentoring, break fix stuff, training. We do a little bit of all of that Power Platformy stuff. And there you can see some of my contact info as well. And where most of you probably know me from is from YouTube, right? I've got a couple hundred videos out there on this Power Platform thing and like 116,000 subscribers, right? So that's that cool little metal plaque back there. I wish I could be joining all of you live this morning, but unfortunately I am still sleeping, right? There's a picture of Chewy. To be fair, Sharon pointed out ahead of time that Chewy is sleeping while I'm recording this, and at 5:30 a.m. my time while you guys are watching this. So, sleeping's kind of a thing that Chewy always does, and I tend to do quite a bit as well. So anyway, what do we want to talk about? So the first thing I always have to remind people that are coming into this, and I even remind my own consulting team, is that where are we, right? Like you see this wonderful drawing. I was trying to do one of those adoption curves, but I didn't want to buy an image. So I just drew one myself, right? It's a very nice, uneven, terrible image. But what I want you guys to know is that we're still way down there, right? We are still at the early days of this. I've been doing this thing for, like 4 or 5, 25 years. I don't know, forever. And so it's really easy to be like, oh man, everyone's doing this thing. But it is still really early days, according to my completely unscientific opinion. So learning it now is still a leg up, right? It is still something you should embrace. When we get out here somewhere, like when, my mom starts using Power Platform, then it might be time to stop investing in the platform. But as of today, we are still way down here on early days of the adoption. So I'm glad you guys are here at this session today, learning all this stuff, and investing heavily in these skills right now is still a good idea. And so speaking of, so where are we? That's there. So who makes up that drawing? No, not those lovely little penguins over there, but what I want you guys to kind of know is that like when I go out and speak at big events, or talk to large groups, right? The audience is typically about 50-50 IT and not IT. So whether you're IT or not in IT or in a, quasi weird blend role, that's good, right? You're the right person. Basically, you can't go wrong. If you have a pulse, you're the right person to be here. And I think this goes back to also my reminder, like when I was doing small business consulting, every company is a technology company. It's whether or not you admit it that is really the key thing, right? Like here in the States, we have Progressive Insurance. We have those funny little football commercials with Flo and stuff. But one of the things that they realized years and years ago, like 20 years ago, was that they were a technology company that just happened to sell insurance. And by putting that hat on, that perspective, they were able to innovate and do bigger, better things and invest in technology tools because they were a tech company. Every company in the world is a tech company. It's just whether or not you admit it and how well you embrace it. So another piece of that whole puzzle, about 80% of our customers are not IT. And so our customers might be anything from, someone in accounting or HR who just tried to build their own little app and kind of doing this thing off to the side, to sometimes we talk to people in the executive levels who just don't want to deal with their own IT processes, right? Like one customer, they were a I don't know, they're $1 billion plus security company. And so to build this app that they wanted to use for sales, they got a quote from their internal IT for about $175,000 over a year to build it. Whoa. They got a quote from us for, to build it over the course of a couple months. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I want to say our quote was like 40 grand. And you know what they ended up doing? They built it themselves because it was on the Power Platform. They could do it themselves, right? But, so you're seeing that people that we're engaging with kind of come from all facets, all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom. This is not just a shadow IT thing. And I think if you are in IT, embracing and empowering your users to do this is better than trying to put your head in the sand and avoid it. The other neat thing about this whole Power Platform thing is the diversity, right? And by diversity, I mean diversity in all senses of the word. So I am teaching a SharePoint for Power Platform class this week, right? Actually, as soon as I finish recording, I have to go back to teaching. And anyway, in that class this week, I have a student from Romania, a student from Germany, a student from Portugal, UK, Canada, the US, and some, I don't know, I think that's all the countries we represent. But, all of the countries across the globe seem to be in this Power Platform. So it's not just a, crazy American thing. It's a pretty pervasive technology. The only downside, the reason the whole penguins are on here, is as far as I can tell, no one is using Power Platform in Antarctica yet. So I've built an app on every continent except for Antarctica. So if any of you know anyone in Antarctica that needs a Power App built, send them my way. I will do it to help the penguins, and so I can finally quit complaining about it. Anyway, so that's who's here. So now that you guys are here and you realize that you belong, no matter who you are, and I'm excited that you're here to do this, what I want you to do to get started, right? One of the key things, you're learning today. That is a great way. And so what I want you to do after today is go build something, right? Go build something that makes your life better, right? Some type of little app, whether, I built one at one point to track my kids juggling a soccer ball, right? Or I built another one for Super Bowl squares, or I built ones for timesheets and for company email. I've built all these apps, but the easiest way to get started is build something that interests you. And a lot of times, if you're like, oh, I don't have any interest, I don't know what that is, then go find a spreadsheet process at your company, right? Go find some spreadsheet that you guys use to do way too much, right? And appify that, because the spreadsheet's already got all the logic, the business process is already set. You know what the inputs and the outputs are. That is a great thing that you say, okay, I understand how it works in Excel. Let me go figure out how to build this in Power App. Building something you know how to do is always easier than a lot of people try to take their first Power Platform project as something new that doesn't actually have a business process around it. It's real hard to automate something that isn't defined. So to build something that interests you and that makes sense. All right. So the next thing I would say is I want you to follow the process. So when you go to build that app that is, taking these inputs, doing some of this, and then outputting this, build the app in that order. A lot of times you can look at it and go, oh my gosh, that app does all these things. It's overwhelming. What do I do? Calm down. You're not trying to boil the ocean. Solve the first problem, right? I built a purchase order creation and management system for a customer, right? Very big, large, complex app. I started with the beginning. Well, I'm like, all right, well, in order to, add line items, you're going to need to have products. In order to add products, we need to know who the vendors are. So the first thing I built was a functionality to add vendors. And then once I had vendors, I built functionality to add products. So I could tie that to the vendors. Now I got vendors and products. Now I can worry about how are they going to capture that information and turn it into a purchase order, right? I built it in order. And so I didn't have to overthink it. I didn't have to be overwhelmed. So the next one here is everyone is your customer. And so what do I mean by that? So I realized that, I'm a consultant, so duh, everyone's my customer. But a lot of you are probably internal, and you might not even be an internal service. You might just be someone in the sales department who's building an app. That's awesome. But when you go to start helping and building this app and you want to use others and include them, think of them as your customers, right? So one thing you need to know, the customer is not always right. So even though they give you their opinion, doesn't mean it's what you really need to do, but you take the input from them politely as you would if they were your customer. When you communicate with them what's going on with your app, you treat them like they're a customer. Hey, here's the update. Here's the information you need, right? By having that mentality that the person that you are building the app for or building to help, right, is your customer. Even though they're not a customer, it just puts you in the right frame of mind for communicating with them about the app, even though they might be your work BFF. It's okay. Put them in the customer bucket when you're thinking about them then. So ways to keep learning. I think you guys are going to talk about this more without me, but since I'm asleep, I don't know. But so the Microsoft community is a great way to engage, right? So if you go to powerusers.microsoft.com, there are forums for Power BI, Power Apps, Automate, virtual agents. And so, give and take with these things though, right? One of the ways that when I was first learning, these forums existed even before I started, believe it or not. And so what I would do is I'd go out there and I would read the questions that people were asking, because it gave me a perspective. What are people thinking about? What are people asking? What are people having challenges with? And then the ones that interested me, I was like, oh, that's an interesting problem. How would I write that formula? And I would go and figure it out for myself and then post back to them, right? Like, here's how you would do the thing. And so you're like, why would you go spend your time helping people? It was helping me. It was giving me something tangible to learn. It was a problem that I could go solve. It was their problem and it was helping them in the end, but it was all self-centered. I'm okay with that. It was about me having a tangible problem that I could go figure out, tinker with, play, and learn. You don't know what you don't know. And so by engaging in the communities and looking at other people's questions and the ones that you are interested in, solving those, that helps you grow and it helps them solve their problem. The whole community moves. We continue up that adoption curve, right? So we can get to the other side when my mom starts building apps. So participate. There's also a lot of documentation. I now realize that the closed captions are over the documentation, but that's all right. We'll talk about that in a sec. But so Microsoft Docs, great place to go and look. If you search for Power Apps formula reference, that is the list of all the Power Apps functions. It is my favorite piece of documentation. Every training class that I teach, we start by going over that page and all the value and all the ways that you can use it, because you don't know what you don't know. The more of those, I refer to it as planting seeds. Reading the list of functions gives me ideas of things that are possible, so that one day when somebody says, hey, I need to get a heading in my app, right? Well, there's actually a compass function that returns the heading. I've never used it. I don't know how the compass function works, but I've planted the seed. I know it's there the day that the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts come to me and say, hey, build me an app. The Microsoft product teams all have blogs. They're a mixed bag. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Sometimes they post all the time. Sometimes they don't post for months. But overall, I think those are good places to kind of keep your eyes on. They tend to get, especially like when leading up to events and stuff, when big waves of new features come out, a lot of those will be put there. And then Microsoft Learn, the URL that you can't see there, but keep in mind you can get this deck. I think Sharon is distributing this deck for you. And if you can't find the deck, you can just email me, Shane@powerapps911.com. I will happily send you this deck. But so with the Microsoft Learn stuff, right, there's amazing content out there, like amazing. There's a lot of Power Platform content, and Microsoft is always updating it and iterating on it and making it better. So, that is a great way to learn. Almost done, I promise. So another great way to learn, this is why I am here, because so many people these days do not want to go read, they want to watch. And so people are going out to YouTube and binge watching, Power Platform videos. So whatever you want to search for, Power Platform, create a dog. I don't know, that's probably not one, but whatever you search for, you're going to find lots and lots of videos. And you're going to find lots and lots of community contributions. And so then it's just about finding the person who talks about the way you want, right? You end up watching my videos if you like, somebody who doesn't take themselves seriously and probably talks too fast sometimes and gets goofy and makes funny faces like, ah! That's me, right? But if that's not your style, there's other people that present in a much more straightforward, mechanical, what you might say boring status. I don't know. But there's more and more. There's lots of people out there, lots of different styles. But it's a great way to get hands-on, see people put Power Platform in action. So YouTube is a great learning tool. Oh, look at that, covered up at the bottom again. So another option is if you go out to training.powerapps911.com, we have a full free class out there that teaches Power Apps, Power BI. I don't even know what else we do. It teaches a bunch of the free stuff. Power Automate, that's the other tool I was thinking of. And then we have proper classes. I just told you we're teaching classes this week. I teach live classes. I teach on-demand classes. So you can come join us at training.powerapps911.com. and be annoyed that the URL isn't on the screen. If my marketing people see, I'll be in trouble. Shh. And that's all I've got, right? This is me and dearly beloved Chewy. And if you're wondering why I keep referencing my dog, he's in a lot of our Power Apps videos. So I realize now that I didn't say that at the beginning. So you're probably wondering why this guy keeps talking about his dog. His dog, as you can see, he's even on my sweatshirt, right? He is one of our, he's our mascot here. So there is my contact info. If you can do anything to help you on this journey, feel free to reach out. I get lots of those requests, so don't be offended if I don't respond, but I try to respond to a lot of those. Twitter's another great place, at Shane's Cows. There's a lot of people out there listening and answering those conversations. But you're in a great place. I love that you're going on this journey. You're here at the right time, so invest in this. And what do they say in that one movie? You can use it to change your stars. I don't know. Whatever. I'm a dork. All right. And with that, I'm going to say thanks and have a great day.
Okay, fantastic session from Shane there, and again he's spot on. We all learn together, and it propels the platform so much further when we're all working together and we're all kind of feeding back to Microsoft, and it's just this fantastic loop. And I think that's really what makes the tech community that we're in, the Power Addicts and the whole Power Platform community, so strong and have such a great impact. And you're part of that. So we're going to take it's probably a 6-minute break now.